it started a little slow, but now we're cooking with a little bit of gas. What leaps out at you just writ large right now through the first few games of round one?
I mean, I think the star turns by a couple of key players is most notable. In the Eastern Conference, you've got Jalen Brunson continuing to prove to people that he is capable of being the number one guy on a championship level team. I mean, that was kind of the knock on him when the Knicks signed him. They said, all right, you're paying this guy all this money. He's a really good player, but can he be your number one? Well, he just arguably had the greatest performance in Knicks playoff history against the Sixers in Game 4. He is showing that he can be that number one guy. And out west, it's Edwards, right? Like he's, we knew how good he was coming into this series, but, metaphorically putting his foot on the neck of the Phoenix Suns and just stomping them out in 4 games, just playing Bradley Beal literally right off the floor in that Game 4. That's another guy that has taken his game to another level in this playoff. So those two guys have really stood out.
Did Bradley Beal slap Frank Vogel's hand away coming off the court?
And here we are, knives out for Frank Vogel because it's always the coach's fault, right? Like it's not maybe the multi-billionaire owner that put together this train wreck. I mean, look, I like Matt Ishbia. I sat in his office last fall and had this exact same discussion about the downside of putting a team like this together. And he believed wholeheartedly that there was no downside. Well, this is it. In the NBA, you can't cheat the system. And the system is you've got to go through some growing pains before you get to a championship level. I mean, look at the Denver Nuggets. How many years did they get bounced early in the playoffs till they won at a championship level? Boston has been near the mountaintop a few times, a bunch of conference finals. This is the year people think they are going to get to a championship level. Even Oklahoma City, there's a learning curve there for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and some of those guys. And there'll probably be a learning curve for them in these playoffs. The Suns tried to cheat the system by getting a whole bunch of stars together and hoping that they would mesh in a way that stars very rarely mesh together. I mean, effectively, Phoenix built a team that would have looked pretty awesome in 2010, but isn't really built for modern day NBA. It doesn't have a traditional playmaker. It doesn't have a rim protector. I mean, to me, the buck stops at ownership. Matt Ishbia pushed hard to go all in on the Kevin Durant deal, which cost them some draft capital. He pushed hard to get the Bradley Beal trade off the ground and bring Beal in when they didn't really have to do that. And then he traded DeAndre Ayton, who, look, was kind of a malcontent in Phoenix, but Frank Vogel, the hand-picked head coach that he signed, has had the most success when he has had a big 7-footer backstopping that defense. Roy Hibbert in Indiana, Dwight Howard and company in LA when they won a championship. These decisions that were made at an ownership level have put the Suns in the predicament that they're in.
And they don't really have, what's the next draft capital that they have? Right?
I mean, they've got, because of the Stepien rule,
right,
where you can't trade draft picks in multiple years, they will have a first-round pick, but I don't think they have control over their first until 2030, 2031, right, because of the swap rights that exist. So they're in a tough spot. I don't know their pathway to getting better. Look, they've got free agents of their own. Like Royce O'Neal is going to be a free agent this summer. They've got a couple other supporting cast members that are going to be a free agent. There's going to be roster turnover. And you look at the West, I mean, is there any move they can make that is going to put them on Oklahoma City's level, on Denver's level? I mean, look down the bracket. Houston's going to be better next year. I mean, the West is loaded, not just in the short term. And this Phoenix team is a short-term team. Kevin Durant is not getting any younger. I just don't see their path to becoming a title contender.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.